welcome everybody. Thank you for coming today. We're talking about Living Dictionaries. It's our web platform to protect endangered languages and maintain global linguistic diversity. And I'll be showing you everything through my desktop computer, but it can be used through mobile the same way. Thank you for joining our web series here of Zoom webinars. We do have 2 more in case you want to come back or you know someone else who wants to join. We have 2 more coming up, November 4th and December 2nd at the same time. And so we really appreciate everyone tuning in from all over the world. Thank you for being here. And thank you for working on your languages. Maybe no one has told you that today, but thank you for the work that you are doing to protect linguistic diversity. So who are we at Living Tongues? We're a nonprofit research organization. We're based in the US and we have researchers located around the globe. We stand at the intersection of linguistics and community activism. So that means we do scientific research and we publish scientific papers, and a lot of our work is grounded in linguistic science and anthropology, and we're very rigorous on the scientific side. So that's one foot. The other foot we have is in the community activism grassroots world, where we really want to inspire people and encourage them to keep working on endangered and minority languages around the world. And we really see that we can make a difference by encouraging grassroots activists to do the work, and we offer technical support as best as we can. So speaking of technical support, what can technology do to help endangered languages? What if technology can help disrupt language bias? So as you all know, the dominant languages around the world create prestige and value around those languages. But what if we can use online platforms to disrupt some of that domination and to create visibility for endangered and threatened languages? With over 3,000 languages in danger of being lost before 2100, we know there is a need to act quickly. So we're assuming that everyone tuning in now knows that there is a crisis when it comes to languages around the world. It's a slow-moving crisis where slowly these languages are disappearing in real time, and we are the ones who have to do something in this generation to make a difference. So in having worked in many different countries around the world, we know there is a strong need to develop free tech tools that serve citizen linguists and communities of speakers. So we've designed the Living Dictionaries platform with this in mind. Behind our work, we're very conscious of the language justice issues. We know that colonization has caused thousands of language communities to become disenfranchised over time. Most countries around the world are not investing resources needed to support minority languages. Of course, a lot of countries are waking up to this now. You have big progress in places like New Zealand and Canada and other places where there's a lot more value being given to Indigenous languages. But by and large, most countries in the world have a lot of work to do. There's definitely a lot of improvements to be made when it comes to supporting languages. So we aim to overcome some of these barriers that exist. There's a lot of barriers, as you might know, that prevent the equal status and the equitable treatment of all forms of linguistic communication, so oral and sign languages. So we think that technology is a tool that can help connect us, and it can help create access to materials in these languages. So it doesn't necessarily solve the underlying issues, but I think we can all take steps to improve the situation. We believe at Living Tongues that it's a moral imperative of the 21st century to decolonize and democratize linguistic resources. So a lot of studies have been done on endangered languages around the world, and then those findings are not necessarily accessible to people in communities and diaspora communities who need access to recordings and words and phrases and storybooks and texts in their languages. So we believe that all of those materials, when appropriate, should be accessible to people in a free way and a respectable way towards the cultures as well. So that brings us to Living Dictionaries today. So what is it exactly? How does it work? It's a mobile-friendly web platform where citizen linguists like yourselves can build online dictionaries on any device. So you can use your phone, your tablet, or a laptop. Right now, it works mostly on the web. We do have some offline capabilities, and we're really trying to work on the offline mode for people with limited internet. Living dictionaries are multimedia tools for language documentation and language revitalization or maintenance. So as you can see, they're like reference sources, but they also can be used in the classroom setting and in online language learning. And during the pandemic, we've seen such an explosion of people using online tools to learn. So we really feel like the Living Dictionaries can help people out. And the website is livingdictionaries.app, as we'll show you in more detail in a minute. So what's our approach? So as I mentioned at the top, we're a nonprofit. We're a really small, tiny group of really dedicated people trying to do big things. So we're community driven. We really believe in the power of the communities who are building the dictionaries on our platform. We believe in offering free training for citizen linguists. Our platform works really well for remote collaboration, so we're proud about that. We've tried to make it easy to use, and we're every week rolling out new changes to make improvements, to make it faster or easier to access the information. We're not perfect, so there's always some problems, but we're hard at work solving those issues. We believe in accessibility for anyone who's visually impaired or hearing impaired. We're making improvements on the platform too, and it's quite accessible in that regard already. And we value your user feedback in the design process. So I'm really looking forward to our community discussion here after I do the demonstration, and you'll be able to see that we really do take your advice into account, and we try to plan for the future on our roadmap to improve the platform. So we've done in 2021 a lot of webinars like this. We've done regional webinars and international webinars, and here's a picture from one of our Zoom webinars in Africa. So we're really excited to have more and more people from all around Africa joining the platform and working on their languages. And yeah, welcome to some of our colleagues from Zimbabwe who are on this call right now. Also, I'll put this link in the chat. We do have some of these webinars and other conference presentations available on our YouTube channel. So for anyone who wants to get more in depth or see some past meetings like this, we have them online. And so we're slowly getting more and more tutorials online. So who's using our platform? We have more or less 300 citizen linguists who are signed up for accounts who are using the platform right now. And some of them are working on their own, and some of them are working in teams. They're collaborating on dictionaries together. So you can do that from anywhere in the world. You can have 2 or 3 people working on a dictionary at once in real time, no problem. And we have about 200 living dictionaries created on the platform, and there's more each week. There's people signing up and starting their own dictionaries. So that number is growing all the time. And in total, we have about 250,000 entries. That's words and phrases all combined together. And that's growing a lot as well every week. So that kind of gives you a sense of who's on the platform right now. Our goal is that we are going to maintain this platform for the next, we have a 30-year plan for this platform. So yes, 30 years, we want to be able to accommodate thousands of languages on this platform, since there are over 3,000 endangered languages in the world. So we want to help them all. So yeah, that's an overview. Sorry, yes, Greg, did you want to say
just
something?
Quickly interested? Yeah, the 30-year is an internal developmental plan. It's not like they're going to go away in 30 years.
Right. Yeah. Yes, that's like, there's no cutoff point at 30 years. I should just say that's how we have a global focus, and we have large goals. It's I would say long-term project. There we go. So yeah, it's not going to disappear, as Greg said. Yes, so in the short term, we are developing many different features, such as video integration. So we're close to that. We have a partnership with a YouTube API to make it easier for people to do video recordings of themselves directly on the platform. So that's going to come out before the end of the year. We're also working with many different translators to translate the interface. So I'll show you that in a moment. We're working on an IPA chart picker. So that IPA, that's International Phonetic Alphabet, so that people doing phonetic transcriptions can easily select the right phonetic symbols, since those can be a little bit challenging to get on the keyboard. So that's also, we're close to rolling that out. And actually tomorrow we'll be launching our export functionality. So that's an export for dictionary managers who are logged into the platform and who need to extract their data and download it. Those dictionary managers will be able to download the text and the audio and the images that they've added to the platform, because that data belongs to them and to their language communities. So we're very close to having that out. That is our #1 request from everyone on the platform. They want to be able to export from the platform, which makes a lot of sense. So we will be announcing that in the coming days. We're also working on links to ecological databases, since the platform contains a lot of ecological knowledge. We actually have that is functional now, so I'll show that soon. And we're working on more tutorial videos like this that I'm doing in English. We would like to have those done in many languages of the world to accommodate more people. And we'll also be improving our homepage next year so that people can get a wider sense of what we're doing just from arriving on the main welcome page. In the long term, we are working on the speed, the offline mode, audio analysis, storage, prompts, image bank, and more advanced training, because a lot of people want to make monolingual dictionaries. So there's a lot of things that we want to do in the coming years. And we welcome volunteers and translators at different times of the year. We have people helping out and working on it. As you'll see in a few minutes here, our platform is available in multiple languages, so that it's not just used to navigate in English. We currently have English, French, Hebrew, Kiswahili, Portuguese, Russian, Spanish, Indonesian, Malay, and Bengali. And we have people actively working on Hindi, Arabic, Hausa, Amharic, Filipino, Italian, Zulu, Tamazight, and Mandarin, so that people in more places around the world will be able to use the platform. So now switching over to the platform. So this is livingdictionaries.app. Here we're looking at the main homepage, which shows a map here of all the different projects happening on the platform. On the left, you have all the languages that are on the platform, so you can search. For example, if you're part of the Quechua diaspora, like my family, you can search for Quechua and you can see the different Quechua projects that are on the platform. Some of these are private and some of them are public. If you're browsing from the public, you'll just see the ones that are available for the public. The first dictionary I'll show you is one of our big projects from India. This is a Munda language called Gata. So this living dictionary is really big, over 6,000 entries, because we had a large research team in India working on it for close to 4 years. So this is, we see these dictionaries as really, they're alive in a sense, because they progress and we add data progressively over time, and then we correct data as we have new understandings of the content and so on. So that's why we call them living, because since they're in an electronic format, you can always change and add and edit. So I'll show you, what I'm showing you right now is the list view of the dictionary. You can also see it in table view. So that's really useful for editing. It's a little bit faster for editing. And like I said, you'll be able to, dictionary managers who have access to editing will be able to download their content soon. We also have a gallery view, which is really nice for online learning and getting a sense of the ecological and cultural context of the language. So every entry that has an image uploaded with it, you can see it through the individual entries or by browsing the gallery view. And so those are in this case, we have a lot of flora and fauna from this region of the world where Gata is spoken. And it shows you all of the how to say these plants and animals in Gata itself. So it's a really great repository of information, not just linguistic information, but also ecological and cultural information too. So those are the ways to visualize the data. We also have tags on the system. So for example, if you want to share all the animals in Gata, you can activate this setting in our semantic domains filters. So if all of those that are correctly tagged as animals will then show up. And then you could take this URL and share it with your friends and family through email or on social media platform, however you like, WhatsApp, whatnot. And soon you'll be able to also download this data. So this also can be seen as list view or table view or gallery view just with these animals. So that's really good too. If you wanted to do a lesson plan just with body parts in Gata, you could then use this filter and just get the body parts. So it's a good way of navigating the information quickly and having a way that the data is grouped and not just looking alphabetically through the language. So that's one of the benefits of having an electronic dictionary. And each entry can have multiple semantic domains. It doesn't have to be just one semantic domain. You could have as many as you want, as many tags for any entry so that they appear in these different groups of core meanings. Yes, so you can also filter by parts of speech. So for example, I just want to see, how many nouns, how many items do I have tagged as nouns on the platform? So here's an example of this search filter. And then once again, you could share that as a link. It becomes a unique URL. If I am working on the platform, I can also take this entry, which is for the word mother, and I can share that as a unique URL as well, just for the word. So now we're going to listen to some entries. I'm going to stop sharing and make sure everyone's in the room. Yes, okay. I will share again with sharing my sound. Okay, so now we're going to listen to some words in this language.
Remone nche.
So that's the word for skeleton.
Arke.
The word for moon.
Baduria.
Great.
Bhole. Behave.
So as you can see, it's very useful to have the audio recordings available. So these were all fluent speakers who made these recordings.
Glesang.
In this project, we recorded the audio in communities, and that we edited all the audio and we uploaded it. But you can also record directly on the platform using your smartphone or your tablet or any device with a microphone. So that's one of the benefits of working digitally and using the microphone that you have at your disposal. You don't need any fancy equipment. If you already have a cell phone, then you can then you can just use what you have. Also, our platform, so we're looking at it in English right now. I'm going to see if I can switch to some of the other interface languages. I am having a little bit of technical issues with that, so I'll come back to that. We also accommodate many different scripts on the platform. So when people upload data, we can you can have up to several different local orthographies, and we encourage people to use their locally relevant scripts. So this is an example of the Birhor language, also from India, where you have multiple scripts in one dictionary. So you have Devanagari script, Oriya script, all for the same word. Here it is in phonetic. And then you have the glosses in different languages that are relevant to this project. So in this region where Birhor is spoken, you have a lot of Oriya speakers. So you want to make sure that we have the gloss in Oriya. We also have Hindi, spoken widely in India, and English. So all of these become really important because when someone is searching in the dictionary, they can search in whatever script that they want. They don't just have to search in English. So that's an important part of what we're doing, is to make sure that we accommodate the true multilingualism that exists in the world. And this is something that we're always improving and excited to hear more about. And so, for example, so here we'll listen to this, this word right here. So that was a speaker named Kaushila Birhor. So as you can see, this is where the audio recording is. You can see the waveform. And if there is any mistake or error with this waveform, it can be deleted or downloaded right here. And also you can upload a photo for this right here in the entry view page. So that's a little bit, those are some of the main things. I wanted to also lastly say that a lot of these dictionaries were built through batch import data. So what does that mean? That means that people already have spreadsheets and word lists that they're using. So we just had a meeting with our Kalanga team in Zimbabwe earlier. And so this is what the spreadsheet looks like for doing a batch import of data. Since the team already had a long list of words, they didn't want to add them in individually as individual entries on our platform. So we can accommodate that. We can send you a template of a spreadsheet like this, and then you can go through and add all your lexemes and then the glosses in various languages. We can have more columns for other languages, and then add your parts of speech and other items here. So we customize those spreadsheets to be useful for people for their specific language. And now I would love to open it up to community discussion. And I see a couple of questions already in the chat. Okay, so let's see here. Okay, so I'm not know if
I answered
I'm
a couple of them there, Anna, directly. I should have, I will copy them to everybody because I just did a direct message.
Oh, okay. Okay. For IPA camps.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So that was a good question about gloss. So let me go back to an example just to show what we mean by gloss. So in this language, this is kind of, let's go for the word for sheep. Okay. So in this language, you have the word in Birhor, which is then written in two different scripts. And then the glosses, that means translation. So in Oriya, how do you say this word? In English, how do you say it? And then how in Hindi? So it's a little confusing if you're not used to looking at multiple glosses and scripts at the same time. So I totally understand. But gloss just means translation. And so that's the kind of dictionary speak, I guess you could say. And once again, we can accommodate up to 5 different glossing languages for each language. So a lot of languages of the world they're part of many, a lot of people are coming at learning those languages from different multilingual backgrounds. So for example, languages of South America, that also have diaspora learners, you might want to have a gloss in English and in Spanish, and maybe even in Portuguese or French as well, since people might be trying to learn the indigenous language coming from different other languages. So we really see the platform as being like this multilingual dictionaries, where people can then search in the language that they're familiar with. Yeah, Ipa, did that help answer your question? Oh, yes.
Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you for your question. Yes, and we have other examples of content that dictionaries that are not in English. So a lot of them are just the indigenous language and Spanish, for example. We have some like that. So you don't need to translate into English. But a lot of the languages do. And for the purposes of English speaking workshop, a lot of them have English. Great. So do we have any other questions or comments so far? Yeah, anyone who wants to jump in, you can just unmute and jump in. Chizanani, do you have any thoughts or questions right now?
Yeah, it's not questions as such, Anna, but thank you very much. I think the presentation makes it a bit more easier for me to appreciate what you are working on. Yeah, because when we're looking at the doing the basic words, sometimes you don't have a full appreciation of where you're going. But I think now it's much better. I'll give myself time to explore the Living Tongues website and see if I can get more out of it.
Great,
Yeah,
thank you so much. Yeah, I appreciate that good feedback. Chizanani is part of the Kalanga Living Dictionary team. And so we just had a meeting earlier today. And yes, your colleagues also said that too, that it's just cool to see other languages on the platform and what they've done and how that can inspire other projects. So that is something that we really value as well. I would love to hear from Mr. Arul Dayanand. I know you've been working on the platform for a while. Do you have any questions or conversation topics right now?
Yeah, hello.
Hi.
Yeah, and one thing is when moving on to grammar, and you have something called about that language. When you see the page, when you put your text into it, it looks like a plain, it doesn't capture, it doesn't captivate the audience. Rather, if the page looks something like a Wikipedia page, if it has some kind of interactive where you can put pictures and tables to it. And for example, if I'm working on a tribe, I need to show the population table in it, and as well as the environmental photos, like the people where they reside. I don't have any options for putting into the page. If it is like that, it gives much more, like a lot of information. Like people would be much more interested in if it looks like a Wikipedia page.
Yeah, that's a really good suggestion. I'll share that for the audience so they can see. So this is the About page that Mr. Dayanand is referring to. So on the left sidebar of the dictionary, so we were always looking at the entries, but we have About, we have contributors, and we have grammar. So on the About right now, it's just a text, as you were saying, just straight up text. You can also add links to here. But there's no capacity for images right now, but that would be easy enough for us to do since we have plenty of images on other parts of the platform. So that's really should be no problem for us, and then probably early in the new year to add images there, images and other info. This is on older versions of the platforms, we didn't even have a way for people to add extra information like this at all. So this is kind of a good step so far, but I think there's a lot we can do to make it more appealing, like you say. So About is like the general place where we encourage people to put general information about the project itself, who worked on it, and how many speakers there are. And then in grammar, this dictionary actually doesn't have a grammar page yet, and it really needs to. It just has no information yet, but we will be adding a lot of grammatical information to this. So it's basically just a text editor right now. So thank you for that suggestion, because I think there's a lot we can do. We're also making improvements to the contributors page where people can request access, and that managers like yourself, Mr. Diana, that you can more easily add and remove people who are working with you on the dictionary, you know, like maybe students or colleagues who are working with you. So we're working to improve this page as well.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And also, I just want to tell you, because I remember we talked about in one of our previous meetings where you came, Mr. Diana, we're working on the ability for people to have their own tags. Because I remember you asked about the semantic domain system.
Yes.
So getting back to some of these tags, this is a system. I remember you asked last time, how did this system come about and why is this system the way it is? Which is a very good. Yes. And so I spent a lot of time thinking about that after you posed that question. And so this is the system that exists right now is sort of these large overarching categories that are to help organize the content. But we are working on the ability for you to be able to have your own tags that are suitable for your own language. So that you would have your own section, because there are groups, right, that we aren't capturing. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So this long list here, for example, health, well-being, and sickness. This is a good category if things are tagged properly, but there might be another kind of category or tag that we might have missed that is really relevant to the language that you're working on. So probably early 2022 we'll have tags that are like, you can customize your own tags.
Okay. I guess like we could follow up on the sort of background of it if that matters.
Sure. Yeah.
Well, you know, we obviously thought this on some user level would be useful to have for organizing the data, as Anna was just saying. And it's a non-trivial task to come up with a set of things that's, you know, sufficiently compact and concise, but also sufficiently comprehensive. Because when we first started this, we had both ends, too little, and then we got a maximum one, and that ended up being like literally 4,000 categories. And that's, as you might imagine, extraordinarily cumbersome to use for anybody. Even just scrolling through 400 is, you know, an order of magnitude less, and that will make most people lose the will to continue doing the process.
Yeah.
And also there's the sort of programming and language interface issue that all of these have to be translated into all of the interface languages. So there is a sort of practical logistical concern there. So that sort of, you know, it's not ideal, but it was a compromise that we came up with. Basically, was the between too little and too much.
Yes, exactly. In coming up with this system, we were trying to be as accommodating as possible, but then we, in the process, didn't have the cultural specificity that we needed to have. So we see the need for those tags to exist. So that's on our list for sure. And we've also worked on the technical side, we're also working on many other improvements to make it easier to use offline. This is a lot of the communities we work with don't have regular access to internet. So we're working on that. And we're working on some other changes on the back end. A lot of people have asked us to make the platform source available through GitHub. So we're working on that. Yeah. So those are some of the, there's a lot more that I don't want to overwhelm people though. I would love to hear from some of our other new colleagues here. Helen, do you want to give any feedback? Oh, okay. So Helen sent me a message saying that they can't really speak right now, but that this webinar is very helpful. Okay, thank you, Helen. That's great. What about Chunche Lee? Do you want to give any feedback today? Okay. They say this problem is not related to the workshop, but I'm just wondering if there are any useful and practical skill sets needed in a nonprofit language conservation organization like yours for linguistic students who could contribute better to documenting minority languages. Yes, that is a great question. So if I understand correctly, you might be looking for opportunities and to see how a linguistic student could help. And yes, we do have, yes, okay, great. In reading Chunche Lee's question, we do get this question from linguistic students around the world a lot. How can they be useful? How can they make a difference? And yes, we do have tasks available, especially for doing quality control and for finding duplicates in the dictionaries and also tagging them with semantic domains and doing other work like reviewing past work that's been done and sometimes editing images and audio. So we usually welcome some interns once or twice a year. And so we usually post those on our social media when we usually allow a month for people to apply for that. I don't know when our next cohort would be, but if you follow us on Instagram, which is Living Tongues, or on our Facebook page, we usually make an announcement regularly to welcome more interns to work on the platform. And in the meantime, oh, sorry, I put that in the wrong chat. Put that again. Living Tongues on Instagram or Twitter or Facebook too. So we usually announce the internship and give people about a month or so to apply. And then they work on Living Dictionaries with us. In the meantime, if there is a particular language already on the platform that interests you, then you can write to us by sending us a message through the platform. There's a contact button saying, hey, this is a language that I'm really interested in. Do they need any help working on this dictionary? I would like to, volunteer my time. And sometimes the dictionaries really do need help, just depending on which one it is. Some of them are already all set with their people working on it, but sometimes there are people working alone who do need help processing images or editing data or trying to fix up a spreadsheet, So if you are really interested in a particular language, just reach out and we can see if we can connect you with another activist working on the language. And we've done that a lot in the past. I especially work with a lot of activists in Latin America. And so sometimes there's other people wanting to join in a certain project. So we connect them through email, and sometimes we organize like Zoom meetings to see if people are a good fit for working with each other. Likewise, sometimes people start two different dictionaries for the same language, and sometimes they want to join forces. Or sometimes if they're two different dialects, they want to, keep the dictionaries apart. So we get questions like that as well. I see a question from Helen also. Helen says, I was wondering if there are any ongoing projects for Northern Zazaki, because I couldn't find information on the platform. Not a linguist, but my parents are native speakers and I'd love to help. Oh, well, that's very interesting. We don't, as far as I know, we don't have a dictionary for Zazaki on our platform. Greg, are you familiar with that language?
Yeah, we do not,
yes.
For sure. Yes, I am familiar with it. So this would be a classic opportunity for you if they're willing to be consultants and willing to have themselves recorded. You could undertake that process yourself, and we could facilitate that for you so that it could be as painless as possible for you to do it. It is relatively straightforward, and it would be a wonderful addition to the platform. It's an interesting language for sure. So I'd be very happy to have it.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, that's great. Okay, very exciting. So now that you asked that question, I will walk everyone through for the benefit of answering you and everybody. What would you do to start? So how would you start? Say you have an interest in it, and how would you even get going with a project like that from the ground up? So one thing that I can share right now, okay, so I'll share with you the master elicitation list. And then I'll start with that. So we do get a lot of questions. So say Helen wants to start on a new living dictionary from scratch for Zazaki, since there's no living dictionary for that language. So I'll share my screen. I just put a link in the chat. So this is something called the master elicitation list. And this is a helpful guide just to get started on figuring out what words and phrases can I ask the native speakers that I know. So in this case, members of Helen's family who are fluent speakers of Zazaki. You could take part of this master elicitation list. There's a lot of entries in here. You don't have to do them all because that might take years, but you could start with, I say 500. I like to get people started with a batch of 500 words and phrases because it's a good chunk of data. You could download this and then you could start working on it on a spreadsheet. You could type up, okay, what are these words going to be in Zazaki? And then you could start from there in your own spreadsheet. Then what you could do is you would then create an account on the platform. So you just follow the sign in button and then you just sign in. I think it's trying to get me to sign in French, but that's okay. So you would then sign in. You could use your Google email or any other email works on the platform. And then on the home page, you would then, let's go back to the home page. You would then, sorry, I'm having a little, you would click on, let me just reformat my screen here for a second. Sorry, I'm in the wrong shape and it's a little hard sometimes. Okay, here we go. When I'm all zoomed in, sometimes it doesn't work. Okay, so you would be signed in as I am now, and then you would click on, after you've created your account, which takes 2 seconds, you would then click on the create new dictionary button right here. And then you would write, okay, Zazaki. Okay, so you would type the name of your dictionary and that would automatically come up here as the URL, which you can edit once if you want to. You could also put this in parentheses. You could type this any way you want. If you want to see Zazaki in a different script or written a different way, it doesn't have to be this. You can also have it written in multiple ways. And the name of the dictionary can be edited at any time later, but the URL will stay the same. And then you can figure out, okay, how many glossing languages are you going to want in this for this language? So we have a long list of different languages that you can choose from. Because you might want to have multiple different translations of the words in your Zazaki Living Dictionary. And then you would add those from our list. We have about 300 different glossing languages to choose from. And then you would select the coordinates of where the language is spoken using our map. So actually, I'm not familiar with this language, so I don't know where it's spoken. But you would choose the location.
A lot of those Zazakis are from like Eastern Turkey, I think. It's a Kurdish language. It's Iranian.
Okay, great. So you would then zoom in to regionally where.
Maybe somewhere else. I don't know. Where her family's from. So.
Oh yeah, it's true. They could be from somewhere else. Well, you would find the location. We're also, right now, this works with pinpoints, but we're also working on polygons and having multiple pinpoints because a lot of the languages we work on are diaspora languages. So they're not necessarily confined to like one region. Yeah, so you can select the map and then you can also add alternate names if Zazaki is known as by different names in the literature. And then you would add in the ISO code and the glottal code. So those are pretty easy to find if you search for Zazaki language on Wikipedia. So you would go here on the Wikipedia page, and then you would figure out which one. This is an interesting case because there's multiple ISO codes here. So you would actually have to figure out which language that you're working on for this dictionary. Are you doing like all Zazaki, or are you doing?
I think she said Northern Zazaki.
Oh, she did? Okay.
I think so.
Okay, so say for this example, just pretend we're doing, we're going to do KIU, and then this language only has one glotto code for all of them. Oops, so Zaza 1246. KIU. So those are usually found on the Wikipedia pages. And then I'll also add, I'm not going to create the dictionary now because I don't want multiple versions of it created, but you would also have these alternate names of the language, like Zaza, and some of these others. For example, I'll just copy this one. That's where you would get it. You would add the alternate names here and have all of them. For example, it's also called Zaza. And yeah, and then here, then you would probably not check this because you would want to keep it as a private dictionary for now before you want other people to see it while you're working on it. And we have a lot of dictionaries like that are not public yet, just people are working on it on their own time. And then you would hit create dictionary. And that would take you to the Zazaki, the first, on our platform, the first Zazaki Living Dictionary. So that's how you would set it up. And so it would be basically an empty shell of Zazaki. And then what you would do at that point is I'll go over here. So at that point, you would then, so this part would be blank. I'm going to try to move this so you can see. So how you would get started is you would start with this blue button, add entry, and then you would follow the steps. So you could start adding individual words. Such as if you wanted to start with the word for, you would type the Zazaki word. So if you wanted to type the word for mother, for example, you would put that there. And then depending on the glossing languages you chose, then you would choose, then you would type in the word for mother and whatever other, presumably you would have another glossing language in this dictionary too. And that's it. And then you would follow the steps and then you would just start adding the text entry. You would do some text entry. And then once you see them appear on the list, then you would just hit there'd be a recording audio button right here. And then you could just start recording your parents' voices. You would just go through and just record each one of them one by one on your phone and add them. You add each of them at their name as they want to be listed. It could just be their first name or both names if they're comfortable with it. And then they would be speakers in this dictionary. And it's actually very fast. You could sit down with them and do, 20, 30 words very quickly. But in that process, I do recommend planning the data first. Like if you're working with your parents or other relatives, come to them ready with a list of 50 or 100 words and phrases, common things that you want to see in Zazaki. If there already is a Zazaki text dictionary, you could also use that as some inspiration if you're not sure about the orthography in the language. So that's pretty much how you get started. And we've had really great success stories from other people on the platform. Just, they just get started one afternoon and they just type in and soon they have 100 entries and they just start recording their relatives and they're like, wow, this is actually really easy to use. So we've tried to make it as easy as possible. So yeah, I hope that helps. Helen says it's also known as dimly since it's spoken from the Dersim region. Okay, thank you very much. That's great. Yeah, so you would check. To see which ISO code applies to that region. But if you don't know which ISO code, it's fine. We can also add that later. It's not a problem. Like if you want to skip the code, all those things are optional. It's just to give, it basically makes internal tags to the dictionary. So if someone is searching resources for KIU and they're trying to find that variety of Zazaki, then they're able to find it online. So having those codes just helps search engine optimization. Yeah. Okay. All right.
Question here about, does public mean others can edit or just view?
Oh, that's a really good question. Yes. No. Yeah. Public just means view, that other people can view. And that's a very good question that I failed to mention at the top, was that the only people who can edit are people who are dictionary managers. So people who are like Mr. Daigneault with his dictionary, he's the one who created it and logged in, and he's the only one who can edit and add and change things. And everyone else is just public viewers. It's just that when it's tagged as public, it's findable through our platform. It's listed on our list, and it's easier to find on like through Google. Yeah. But if someone had the URL, you could still share the URL, even if it's in private mode. Yeah. But no, they're not public dictionaries like Wikipedia where anyone can log in and change it. That's not the way we set it up, because we want small groups of people just working on their dictionaries. And then if other people want to join them, they can request access. And then you can also add as many people as you want to a dictionary. But it's curated by the people who started the dictionary. Yeah. So it's a different model than Wikipedia, which is like anyone just gets on and edits. Yeah. We do that for quality control purposes too, to be sure that someone is not just going in and putting in like profanities in a dictionary, you know. Okay, let me see any other questions we have.
Well, what I was asking Anna was,
yes.
There was one step in the setup process, which I know we didn't want to set up the Zazaki one, here in real time, but how to establish the glossing languages for a dictionary. That step was.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So maybe
yes.
just create a fake dictionary or something.
Yes.
And then show how to do that or something. Yeah.
Okay, that's great. So just go back to sharing. Okay, so say, okay, I'm going to create, this is a language that one of our colleagues is going to be working on later in the year. And it's spoken near the border of Peru and Brazil in South America. So you would want this language to be available. You want this Living Dictionary to be available in English, Spanish, and also Portuguese. So you can type Portuguese from there. But, if this was a different language, so that's just relevant to this language. It's an indigenous language of the Amazon. But you could have, say for, if you had a language of a region, so we'll just take this off, but you can choose from any of these other languages here. Say, I could very well want it to be translated into Aymara too. So we have this long list of languages to choose from. Cantonese. Yeah, so, you can add up to 5 different glossing languages, no problem. And our system can accommodate up to 5. So for example, we're working on some endangered Jewish languages of the world. And so those come from very multilingual settings. So we're working on one right now called Karaim. And so that one is going to be in Polish. It's going to be in Russian. It's going to be English already. And I think we said it was going to be also available. Lithuanian. Yes, Lithuanian. Yeah. So that one is an example of one of Europe where the existing resources. Oh yeah, in Hebrew, actually, it needs to be available in Hebrew too. Yeah, there we go. So that the current resources that are out there actually favor, I think from the written dictionaries that we found, there's Polish and Lithuanian, but there's not a lot of translation to English. So that'll be really interesting for this language. Same thing for next year. I plan to work on a dictionary for Breton, which is an endangered Celtic language of France. And so for that one, you actually online, you would have French. There's not a lot for English already. So that'll be good for this language. And I think people also wanted it in Irish as well. That's what they requested. So that's cool. There's like so many options here, and we keep updating this list as well for to accommodate as many regional translations. And it's an important step, because then you have a data field in your dictionary that allows you to translate into these languages. Great. Did that help, Greg?
Yeah, no, I think that's right. Yeah, it was just a step we skipped, and I just thought, it'd be good to
Yeah.
demonstrate that. Yeah, that's all.
Okay, awesome. Great. Cool. Okay, well, that brings us to the end of the hour. I hope everyone is inspired to keep working on the platform. Thank you for those who are already working on their dictionaries. It's really amazing. It's been amazing, just seeing the platform grow just in the last 18 months of COVID. So, we really want to salute all the people who are doing hard work on the platform. And to all the newcomers, we really encourage you to get started. For example, with the Zazaki Living Dictionary, start with a few entries if you have time, and then come back and join us in November or December and let us know how it's going for you. And one last thing I'll share, since I know we're having, there's a couple of technical issues on the platform right now that we should be able to fix in the next few days. If you do encounter something, you can send us a message through the Contact Us button. And so that might take us a few days to respond, but we do read all these messages and we try to fix the problems that people flag to us. So we do our best to keep track of all the messages. And then we also have an FAQ, which is frequently asked questions. And so we try to keep this updated regularly. There's a lot of information on here about how to get started, how to create entries, links to tutorials, and information that goes inside each entry, how to search, all this stuff. So things that I mentioned today, but I didn't go in a lot of detail yet. A lot of that can be found on the FAQ page. So I would start there for asking questions. And for those of you who are linguistics students and really, really interested in electronic lexicography, Greg and I recently wrote a paper about the Living Dictionaries platform, and it's available for download right now through eLex. So that's loading a little slowly, but we're on here with an interesting paper about the Living Dictionaries, and there's a ton of other resources on here about people doing digital work like this to create dictionaries. So that's at the top of our frequently asked questions page. You can find that link, and once again, that link is right on the main page of livingdictionaries.app. So thank you so much. We really appreciate you being here with us today, and please tell your friends. Keep the languages flowing and come back to one of our webinars in the future.
Sure, thank you. Thank you very much. We will share with as many as we can.
Thank you so much, Shizanani. Appreciate working with you, and thanks for being here.
Thank you so much.
Thank you too.